main point there?
Yeah, well, basically, any player, the player who is fouled, any foul on the person of a player, that player alone has the option of kicking the free from his hands or from the ground. If he wishes to avail of the services of what would be termed a specialist free taker, the specialist free taker may only kick it from the ground. Then we have the situation of what's called a technical foul, a foul on the ball, over carrying it or lifting the ball at the ground. Any player of the team awarded the free may kick the ball from either the ground or for the hands.
Indeed, we've seen in recent weeks when some of the specialist players, like one of the greatest, Brian Stafford, at some times during the game, he did actually drop the ball on the ground. Other times he took it out of his hand.
It seems so, yes.
Why would they do that? Is it because of distance or what?
I'm not so sure now. I'm not just too sure.
Anyhow, one way or the other, Brian was successful no matter which way he takes the frees. OK, let's go to the sideline kick now, because that one must be taken from the hands, and there is absolutely no alternative. It must come from the hands, and here's a great example. Colm O'Rourke here, Paddy, and this is how it should be done.
Yeah, this is an example of, in fact, the only way in which a sideline kick can be taken from the hands, and it's also a perfect illustration of what the end product should be.
Well, as you said, that was absolutely a perfect example with that trusty left foot of Colm O'Rourke's. Now, fisted points, they have come back in fact. They were not allowed during the National Leagues. Goals and points may still be scored when striking the ball in flight, but a fisted point was not allowed in the National League, but now it is allowed in the new rules.
Yes, that's new. Fisted points were abolished some years ago, but they were reintroduced at Congress this year. It simply means that a point may now be scored by the player in possession striking the ball with his closed fist. The important thing, of course, is that his fist is closed, that it's not open.
That's going to be difficult for referees, you know, if you're 5-6 yards away.
It doesn't make it any easier. Like, it's just another item that the referee has to adjudicate on, and he just has to hope that he gets most of them right on the day.
But we should emphasise that fisted or hand-pass goals are banned.
Except in situations where the player adds to the ball in flight, but any player in possession may not score a goal by fisting or hand-passing the ball.
OK, well, let's talk about the hand-pass then. The hand-pass, the toss and strike is an integral part of the one- and the two-handed hand-pass. The one-handed hand-pass, now, that's important because that really has come in.
Yes, that come in the experimental rules, and I think the example we have here is a perfect example of Colm O'Rourke himself in a slight little bit of difficulty, and he releases the ball and strikes it with the same hand. And that releasing of the ball is considered an integral part of the hand-pass or fisted pass technique.
Yeah, you can see it there again, and there must be a very definite striking action. It's almost like a handballer playing handball.
Yes, there must be a definite striking action, either when the ball is released from the one hand and struck with the same hand, or when it's released by the holding hand and struck with the other hand.
Yeah,
the overriding consideration is a definite striking action.
That was the confusion, that players were holding the ball in one hand and sort of slinging it away.
We did have that. I would say that was pre-81. There was a clampdown on the hand pass from 1981 onwards, you know.
There's always been quite a little bit of confusion about the hand pass. Do you think now it's absolutely clear?
I do, yes. I think the Central Council and have done an excellent job, I think, in clearing up any of the problems. At one time there was difficulty about whether or not that releasing of the ball was considered to be an integral part. It's now considered an integral part, so I see no great problem with it.
OK, well, the next point we come to then in the rules is divots. And divots are absolutely not allowed, but the Down goalkeeper in the recent National League final didn't realise that. Look at this.
Yeah, it would seem as if he may have dug up a piece of turf, a small piece of turf, I might say, but still, I think it would be in contravention of the spirit of the rule, at least.
Of course, the reason that the divots are now banned was to cut out the time wasting, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was undue and unnecessary delay with people kicking up divots to take frees. It's also a great help to groundsmen throughout the country as well, I think.
I think it was the time wasting, though, that was
I think
more
it was.
important.
That was the fact.
Also, in fact, the whole emphasis on the new rules when the work group brought them in was to cut out the time wasting rather than to speed up the game. There was time wasting when players placed the ball for the free, and then they had to run back, and then they were making divots and all the rest. So, in fact, the game was speeded up in that sense.
Yeah, a valid point. I mean, it's not necessarily to actually have players running any faster or anything, but it was to eliminate the unnecessary delay from the game.
Now, there's one final point, and that's technical infringements, that any player can take the free when it's a technical infringement.
When it's a technical infringement, like picking the ball at the ground or taking more than the permitted 4 steps, then
And here's
anybody
one
can
here
take the
where
free.
the free is...
This is an illustration of a free where a player from the opposing team stood too close. The referee penalised him 13 metres. And the subsequent free then, being a technical free, could be taken by any player of the team, either from the ground or from the hand.
A little bit unfair there, though, don't you think, that the player didn't have much time to get out of the way? Or is the onus on the player, the opposing player, must get out of the way?
Well, I think you'd have to place the onus on the opposing player, at least not to obstruct. He did seem to raise his foot, and I'm quite sure it wasn't to the benefit of the kicker. So, I mean, there will be some occasions when it's physically impossible for the player to get away from the scene. I think in that instant the referee would have been quite correct. The player did actually make an effort to impede the free being taken.
So the referee then has to make up his mind whether the opposition had time to get out of the way or not?
The referee has to, yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much indeed, Paddy. Well, as I said, the new rules are now here for the next 5 years at least, because any other changes can't be considered until 1995 at the earliest. Now let's turn to the championship matches being played under these new rules. The Leinster Football Championship begins in Dr.